man.
Marrone.
Now, we return to a man who is always outraged.
That's an outrage. Here is Tony Bruno.
Oh, man. Hello there, kids. Welcome. It is winter finally in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, on a Wednesday night, January 6th. We thank you for joining us all over the world, listening live on Mixer.com, and, of course, listening later on iTunes, wherever you can find the show. TonyBrunoShow.com. We're all over the world. We want to thank everybody for coming out. It's cold out there.
Yes.
Today was the first day. And obviously, in other parts of the country, it's really cold. And, for example, in Minnesota, where they're going to play a playoff game, for the first time, the Vikings will be playing outdoors since 1976, when they were in Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota, because they were in the Metrodome for a million years. The temperature is supposed to be 1 degree. That's just the temperature, not the wind chill. So it's going to be cold. It's cold out there in a lot of places. Cold in Philly. I got my jacket on. Robin's crying about it's warm in here. It's cold outside.
I'm like sitting right underneath the air, the exhaust.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. I'm like 2 feet away from you.
Apparently, that's far enough.
Are you going through the phase of life, Robin? Maybe
you're not used to all the hot air up here to usually spill.
Tony Bruno.
I should be used to it.
Miss Robin is here tonight. The great Joe Corrado. Luigi's up there in the God Mike position up there. And, of course, Natalie Egenloff's up there, too. She's got a copy of her own movie now, too.
Yes.
She has a movie that she starred in that we were talking about on the show last week. Now she has a copy because our good buddy Joe Ruffino went to a video store. I think the West Coast Video is still open.
I think, or Errol's, one or the other. Yeah.
Errol's, West Coast Video, or Blockbuster.
Please rewind.
Movie Stop.
I would like to clarify I was not a star.
But you were in that movie.
Were in it.
I was in it.
But you don't even own a copy of the movie you were in, right?
No, I don't. Because it was a terrible movie. I know. Here it is. Here.
But we talked about that. Give the people the name of the movie and who's in this movie.
Okay.
This isn't some local, yokel, crappy little production.
No, it's a comedy by James L. Brooks, who wrote this, who was a writer of The Simpsons. It stars Reese Witherspoon, Owen Wilson, Paul Rudd, and Jack Nicholson.
I mean, that's star heavyweights right there, right?
Yeah.
All right, Paul Rudd. I mean, those are big name actors.
Exactly.
I think it was the biggest flop of 2010.
Well, there you go. It's something.
You can say you were a part of the biggest flop of 2010.
I can.
Natalie's here. We have a special guest. Our buddy Seth Everett's going to join us here in a moment. We got all kinds of news going on, though. He'll have baseball, football. He can talk about anything. He's even a big comic book guy. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
We want to thank Chris and Nick, who brought all this amazing food here tonight. So everybody in the studio audience tonight gets this great soup. I got to give you the menu tonight. I know people listening are saying, why do I care? I'm not there. That's why you need to be here with us. They got the blue duck fries, right, which are hand-cut fries, shredded duck, smoked Gouda cheese, and scallions.
So good.
When's the last time you had smoked duck? Or shredded duck?
I can't even remember.
And when's the last time you smoked duck, Joe?
Who footed this bill anyway?
The great folks at the Blue
Okay,
Duck.
all right.
There's our buddies. Cuban egg rolls. Did you have a Cuban egg roll?
Yeah, they were delicious.
Shredded duck, ham, spicy pickles, and cheddar cheese. Then we got the chorizo mac and cheese. Everything here is a little spicy, a little kick.
Yeah, it was a little bit,
Homemade chorizo shells, cheddar, salsa verde, and tortilla chips. The buffalo chicken soup, which is amazing. Have you had? I've had like 3 bowls of that already.
It is. I can't believe how you can taste every single little nuance. It's like you can taste all the layers.
Asparagus, carrots, marinated chicken, hot sauce, and then the General Tso's wings. You've had the General Tso's chicken.
Yes.
The wings are great.
Wings are great. Yeah.
So everything's great, and we want to thank the guys again at Blue. I follow them on Twitter at Blue Duck Philly. They're up at 2859 Holm Avenue in the Northeast. A great place. They even will provide stuff for your parties. If you want to do stuff, you can follow them on Twitter at Blue Duck Philly. We want to thank them for providing the food for us tonight. Ken Griffey Jr. and Mike Piazza made it into the Hall of Fame. Only 2 guys. And one of the things that I've done for the last 50 years is rip the Baseball Writers Association of America every single year.
I think that'll continue tonight.
No matter what show I've done, whether it's ESPN, Fox, you name it, these guys like to play God. And the baseball writers play God more than any other group on earth because no one's ever gone into the Baseball Hall of Fame unanimously because their argument is if Babe Ruth and those guys, Gehrig, didn't go in unanimously, then no one should ever go in unanimously getting 100% of the vote.
Right.
So Ken Griffey Jr., who's as close to as perfect baseball player as you'll ever see, a no doubt about it, stone-cold guaranteed first ballot lock, is left off of 3 of the ballots. 3 people decided that Ken Griffey Jr. wasn't a Hall of Famer on there, and they get to put 10 names down. So they get ballot, and you put 10 names down. So for some reason... Now, that doesn't mean he's left off all 10.
Right.
It just means he's left out of the number 1 spot. And he was the first ever number 1 overall pick to go into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Nobody who's ever
That's
been
also
picked
hard to
number
believe.
1 has ever made the Hall of Fame until Ken Griffey Jr., but somehow 3 chitruls, as we like to call them.
3 Mama Lukes.
3 Mama Lukes
Yeah.
decide that, no, Ken Griffey Jr.,
yeah.
99.3% of the vote is good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not good enough to get all the votes, which is absolutely is an embarrassment.
It is.
And we'll find out who those 3 clowns are, and we will
expose
humiliate them.
Yes.
And they should be humiliated.
That's right.
I get it. I get it if you want to make a statement about Bonds and about Clemens and about the steroid guys.
Yeah, it's different.
How do you make a statement
Griffey.
about Ken Griffey Jr.?
Griffey never did anything wrong.
What possibly
Anything.
could they have against him?
I don't know, and I don't know how they decide how because it's not like it's not like guys share notes.
No.
It's not like I see everybody's ballot.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the guy who's not going to put them on
Right,
there.
right.
They have to decide
have
this
the
in
same
advance.
numbers.
But I mean, is it like when you're doing raffles and you only have so many raffles that you can put in bags? So like
No, there's no excuse for
there's
this.
No,
None.
I'm asking as a novice.
It's the most inane thing in any sport anywhere. As crazy as we talk about college athletics, the NCAA, and their idiocy with kids, Baseball Writers Association of America
they're brutal.
should be ashamed of themselves and embarrassed. They should disband. And we'll have Seth Everett join us here in a second, and we'll explain more. He's a baseball aficionado. I'm just a tsunado. Like baseball. By the way, the other guys who didn't make it, 3 guys got 67% of the vote. You need 75% of the vote to get in. 3 guys came up short. Tim Raines,
Who should be in.
Trevor Hoffman, and Jeff Bagwell. Now, Tim Raines gets nobody saw him play
Yeah,
with
because
the
he was in
Montreal
Montreal.
Expos.
He was phenomenal.
What, you have to be 12 to
Yeah,
put
yeah.
a guy into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, exactly.
Tim Raines was a Hall of Famer when he was in Montreal, when he was Tim Raines, and he was a Hall of Famer when he became Rock Raines,
yes.
and played for the Chicago White Sox, right?
Right.
So how is he not a Hall of Famer? Because you're too young to remember him playing?
It's in Montreal.
That's the criteria to vote for the Hall of Fame?
That's a
well, I'm
joke.
a young baseball writer, and I didn't see him play. That's just idiot. You should lose a vote.
I agree.
You should not be allowed to vote. Our guest, who came all the way down. I asked him how long of a drive it was from where he lives.
Yeah.
80 minutes.
Wow.
Where do you hear people say 80 minutes ever? Seriously.
Right, yeah, I never heard that, no.
I'm about an hour and a half away.
Yeah, that was strictly like map navigation speak.
In living in LA, it would always be, how far is that? Oh, it's a half an hour. Everything's
everything's
a half an hour, even though it's 2 hours away in
Right,
traffic.
right.
So I asked that, how long did it take you to get here? He said, 80 minutes.
Yeah.
When you can break it down, that means you have a mind that works at a very special
Very meticulous,
level.
yes.
I've known this guy forever. He's you've seen him on TV. You've heard him on baseball. You've heard him. He does everything.
He does.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it up for my buddy Seth Everett in the house tonight.
Thanks for having me, man.
Well, good to see you, man. So 80 minutes, though. That's pretty precise. I've never heard anyone say
Rush hour 80 minutes.
When I worked for the Phillies,
that's with no traffic.
But when I worked for the Phillies, I had that down. I used to go to a different studio to do post game, so I'd be at the ballpark. I had to know exactly what inning I could leave. I've done this drive so many times. Somebody says, "How long is it from my house to Philly?" It's 80 minutes.
There you go.
It's not an hour and a half.
Well, this year most games were over in the 3rd inning, so you could have just took off early.
Hey, when I worked for the Phillies, they were great.
Yeah, that's true. You did have good timing.
When I worked for the Phillies, Charlie was great. Rollins was great. The day they lost to the Cardinals in Game 5, the day the music died,
Yes.
I left town. I said, I got to
Couldn't
get
take
out.
You had to get
I
out?
had to get out.
And you moved to North Jersey, or you were living there anyway?
I was living there anyway, but I ran. When Howard broke his ankle, I said, I'm out of here.
fled the area.
I can't do this.
I was standing behind home plate. My oldest son, AJ, and I went to that game, and we had tickets. I didn't go as a media guy. And so we start walking behind home plate, knowing that the end was near.
Right.
And we're standing there, and I remember it vividly like it was yesterday, and he hits the ground ball, and then he falls out of the box, and people thought, oh, he's too ashamed to run it out.
Yeah.
Nobody realized how badly he was hurt that moment.
I'll tell you a story about that night. In the 6th inning, I had a source from Milwaukee.
Unnamed source?
Unnamed source. I can't reveal my source, but I had a story. I was ready to break. The Brewers were letting Prince Fielder go. They were making a play for Ryan Howard. That trade would have happened had he not broke his ankle. I had that. The rebuilding process would have been accelerated 3 years had they gotten out from the Howard contract. They would have changed the whole philosophy. The Brewers were so scared to lose the offense of Prince Fielder, they were making a play for Ryan Howard. That deal was done. I was willing to go. I was going to go on WIP that night, and I was going to tell my story that minute. He breaks his ankle. I said, that's
No
done.
wonder you ran out of
That's
town.
over.
I would have run out of town.
Yeah, really.
too.
I
would've ran
literally
too.
said, that's the night the music died.
Well, wait, you didn't come on my show with that kind of breaking news? Why would you go on a local radio show? when
You
I
were the
was doing a
second show,
national
Tony. You were going to go.
In 2011, where were you?
I don't remember.
So that's why.
I don't remember where I was yesterday. I remember 2011. That's the only thing I remember is Ryan Howard falling out of the batter's box and people thinking he was faking it because he was ashamed to run to first base and be the last out and end the season. Yes. Interestingly, Stan Kroenke, who owns the St. Louis Rams, who are trying to move to Los Angeles as one of the three teams that are putting in a bid. Their owner, did you hear what he said when he applied to go become one of the teams, why he should be in Los Angeles? He flat out said that St. Louis is not a city that can support three teams. That they have, obviously, they don't have basketball, but they have the Blues hockey team that's been there forever, since '68 when the Flyers came in. Right. And they have, obviously, the Cardinals. You know, they're there. That's baseball heaven to them. And then the Rams, who actually were pretty good for a stretch and then become horrible the last 9 years. They've been awful. They haven't made the play. Haven't had 500 record. And he says that because of the economic situation in St. Louis, that no team could go, no NFL team could go there and be supported. And in fact, if they were to build a new stadium, that it would be economically a disaster, whether it was he, Stan Kroenke, or any other owner who wanted to, because they're talking about building a new stadium for them to stay. He says it would be economically unfeasible, and that the stadium proposal would be, here's the quote, bad for any team and would be road to financial ruin. So obviously he wants to move to L.A. because remember, the Rams went from L.A. to St. Louis after the Cardinals bailed from St. Louis and went to Arizona.
Correct.
St. Louis can support a team.
If they're good.
It's a working class town. Why do you have to knock a working class town?
Because he says, here's the other thing. In the recent breakdown of the economic growth.
I can't stand St. Louis. I wouldn't say that.
This is economic growth. He said St. Louis ranked 61st out of 64 major cities in economic growth, and they've lost population base over the last 5 years. So people are moving out of St. Louis. Therefore, the tax base is in there, the financial. And let's be honest, it's like any other city. You know, there are some cities like Cleveland and here in Philly, the team could be bad, and they're still going to, for the most part, fill the stadium. St. Louis, and you look at San Francisco. San Francisco this year, that place was empty the last half of the season when people realized and these people just bought tickets to that new stadium 2 years ago.
Isn't it amazing, though, San Francisco had the greatest player of our generation, had the biggest controversy of our generation, and the franchise's 100-year golden era happened after that.
Exactly.
It happened after that. They went 3 out of 6. It is a golden time there. They sell out every game. They are icons out there. That's more than they had when they had Bonds or any of their 90 years prior.
It's amazing. Tell us your Ken Griffey Jr. story.
Well, first of all, the greatest press conference I ever attended was the signing of Ichiro Suzuki to the Mariners. There were 3 countries that were broadcasting this live, China, Japan, and the United States. This was huge. There were more people in this press conference than had ever been. I'd been to World Series. I'd never seen anything like this. It was my last day in Seattle. I was moving to New York to work for the commissioner's office. Someone asked Ichiro, did having Kaz Sasaki, remember Kaz Sasaki, on the team make you want to sign with the Mariners? I'm not doing a Japanese accent. But his translator had a thick Japanese accent and said, it's a good thing and bad thing. Good thing to have someone talk to about major leagues, but bad thing, because Mr. Sasaki likes to drink. And me want clause in contract, no have to go out with him after game. I went, rock star! That's great.
But I mean, like the Japanese take their drinking very seriously.
In Japan, if you go to a Japanese bar, you don't buy drinks.
Yes.
You buy minutes. And it's like equivalent of $10 for 100 minutes. And as long as your glass is upright, it's full.
You're not allowed,
and the only way to stop is you have to turn it over.
Right, and you are not allowed to pour your own drink.
Right.
Your glass has to be full by everybody else around you.
Yeah.
So if you don't put your glass over, everybody around you is going to keep pouring drinks, and you have to keep drinking. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I've been to Japan twice. It's insane. Anyway, Ken Griffey Jr.
Sorry, sidetracked.
Ken Griffey Jr.
And anytime there's an alcohol break apart in a conversation, more people are interested in that. Than
That's fine.
They talk about statistics.
Right. In Japan, there are certain bars. Hold on. In Japan, there are certain bars that are not $10 for 100 minutes. They're $100 for 100 minutes.
Wow.
And a Japanese woman is assigned to you and required to get you to
Come on.
stay for another 100 minutes by any means necessary.
Wow.
I told the Japanese woman assigned to me that I was a member of the Justice League.
Really?
She had no English whatsoever. What do you do? And I said, I'm in the Justice League.
Love the Justice. Now, who were you in the Justice League, though? I'm a big Justice League guy.
I
Did you
wanted
get
to
that
be
far?
Green Lantern. I thought Green Lantern. I could pull off Green Lantern.
Green Lantern.
After a few drinks, he turned green. But,
One of the worst actual characters that they turned into its own
It's a
movie.
bad
right?
movie.
It was a bad movie.
He fought a cloud. Yeah.
Although the TV series, The Green Lantern, was great, right? Because that's where Bruce Lee wasn't that the Green Lantern, or was that
No. That was
Hornet.
the Green
the Green
Hornet.
Hornet? I'm sorry.
I like the Brown Hornet. That was on Fat Albert.
Fat Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was awesome. They used to go in the garage.
They blocked that off podcast now.
Oh, they blocked it off. Ah, figures.
You're not allowed to talk about Fat Albert.
You're not, oh, that's right. Okay. But hey.
Terrorist
Come on.
one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
Again.
Griffey Jr.
Uh-oh. Did you just drop a drink?
No, you tried-
Drop a mic pack.
What happened there?
For once, that wasn't me, Robin.
Yeah, you need to put that in your pocket.
You've done television before. You know how to put a mic pack on? I got the lid off here. Hang on a second. Here, let me get the battery.
Does this get edited?
This is the only part that'll be on
Now
YouTube.
Robin will be up till 3 a.m.
This will be on our bloopers
No, see,
edition.
this is what people love to hear, the mistakes and mishaps.
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff,
It's radio, so we could have said.
We could.
Oh, the bottle broke. Or,
Exactly. But it is.
No, we're being video. We'll be on
it's-
YouTube
yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
we'll have evidence.
That's a shame.
Nathaniel Dodson up there in the shadows, ladies and
He is in
gentlemen.
the shadows.
He's the real. Who's the guy in the
The eye in the
shadows all the
sky.
time?
The shadow knows.
The Shadow himself.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, the
He was
Shadow.
not in the Justice League, though. Only the Shadow knows for sure. Anyway, so Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr. was an all-star by the time I got there. My first year with the Mariners was.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have done professional television and radio.
I got it.
Sheepers.
This is going to be a great story.
That's why I stopped using the lap. I went back to a desktop. It was falling off of me all the time, too.
I support that decision.
Thank you.
He was an all-star, and the story goes, he had a fight with the radio station. You know what those are like. He had a fight with the radio station. The morning
I had fights with radio stations.
You haven't seen wait, hold on. You haven't seen athletes have fight with radio stations?
Yeah, but not me.
I didn't say you. You've worked at radio stations.
Yes.
You've
Yes.
seen the.
And fought at radio stations.
So he had an argument with the morning show at KJR in Seattle, and he wouldn't talk to any people from KJR. And about 10 days into the season, I went up to him and I literally said, "You are more than welcome to hate me, but if you hate me, you're going to know me." And he really responded to that. I stood up to him. I was about 25. He was about 26. We're similar age. I met his dad. I had a long conversation with his dad, and I explained, and then we became friends. And we were in this situation where he trusted me. There was a lot of stuff that was being written about him. There was a lot of stuff that happened. We had a lot in common. We were both fans of the same music and stuff. And what happened was...
You a grunge guy in Seattle? Do you have to be a grunge guy when you live up there?
No.
Okay, just check.
But
I thought you had to be, and you had to go to Starbucks, who's one every 15 feet.
No, people in Seattle don't go to Starbucks.
Yeah, they go to.
What's the other place?
Because of the Sonics.
Yes, because the owner of the Sonics screwed them and moved to.
Right.
What's
New
the other
Orleans.
one that's up there? It's like World's
Seattle's
Best or
Best.
Seattle's Best.
Seattle's
Best,
Best,
yeah.
So Ken Griffey Jr. and I would have, and then he went to Cincinnati, and I went to the league. So when I was working for MLB, we would see him all the time. They were always asking me to get him for a million things. He made this video. This is the video that you're talking about. Other radio people or television people would try to get him as an interview and drop my name. And they would go, "Can we get you? Can we get you?" And he'd say no. And they go, "But we're pals with Seth Everett." And he would do it. At one point, the camera was rolling, and can you curse on the show?
Yes.
It depends on the word. Just don't go the ultimate word.
No, go ahead. I can always bleep.
What's the ultimate?
I will bleep
Wow.
in. I will
You don't know
bleep
what
in
the
post.
ultimate is?
Yeah.
Just go for it. Go for it.
How did it become the ultimate?
I don't know. Ask George Carlin. He's the one who started this.
What if my ultimate's different than your ultimate?
Exactly.
It could be, yeah. I think our bridge is
Anyway, he came. So the cameraman was rolling. He came in and he threw the name. He name dropped me, and all of a sudden he looks right into the camera and he literally goes, "Seth, I fucking made you.
Oh.
You would be nothing without me. And I've had this video. It was sent to me. It went viral in the MLB circles, but YouTube didn't exist. So we never did anything. I held it for a long... I have to learn how to bleep. But so
does Luigi, actually.
So I'm not fishing for followers, but I will say this. Follow me on Twitter tonight. It's going up.
It'll be on there.
Are you following me on Twitter, by the way, sir? All right, let's get back to that. Ken Griffey Jr. obviously is you heard my tirade, and I'm sure you feel the same way about the voting.
The voting process is a sham.
3 guys do not vote for Ken Griffey Jr.
Please don't take this to be self-serving. I'm not trying to pump myself in any way. I've been a broadcaster. I have covered baseball for an accredited media outlet for now 19, going on 20 seasons. I have no chance to get a Hall of Fame vote. I don't know how many years I have to do this. There'll never be. Major League Baseball in 1940 created, the Hall of Fame made a deal with the Baseball Writers Association of America. That's a union. Writers join a union. That's all that is. They made a deal. At the time, we didn't have television.
Correct.
There wasn't electronic media the way it is now. There was radio, but the only people who did radio worked for the team.
Right.
They worked for the team. So they only allowed writers to be eligible. Broadcasting has taken over. I'm not trying to put down print journalists. I respect them a lot. They're friends of mine. That's a joke. The print medium is changing.
Right,
They're all trying to get out of it.
Not only that, but the print medium is a much smaller division of the overall broadcasting group now.
I'm not trying to pump myself. What my point is, Bob Costas should have a Hall of Fame vote. Carl Ravitch should have a Hall of Fame vote. These are guys who have covered the sport for over a quarter century, and they have done it in an accredited form. It's not for Joe Blogger. I'm not trying to say anybody who does a podcast gets a Hall of Fame vote.
Although I should have a Hall of Fame vote.
You should.
Come on, Tony.
But you did enough radio. You covered baseball. The argument here is that if that existed, it would be a more liberal vote. I do not think you're putting down the Hall of Fame when you say Tim Raines is a Hall of Famer. Jack Morris is a Hall of Famer. Trevor Hoffman's a Hall of Famer. I'm not even getting into the steroid idea. Lee Smith is a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely he is.
And the people who sit here and say, well, the Hall of Fame is a high standard, I'm not taking your standard away. These people are Hall of Famers. If you don't vote for Tim Raines, you didn't see him.
So now let me ask you, so how many people get to vote every year?
This year, they cut it down. The baseball writers, because they're fearful of losing their exclusive status, the baseball writers said that they will take Hall of Fame votes away from anyone who hasn't covered baseball in 5 years. So there was 100 less votes this year.
So it's 440 this year, I believe, was the number of
Right. It
voters.
used to be 5-something.
Right.
It's now 440. The difference here is you would get a more liberal vote. I will give you a perfect example. To me, the best example is Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire, when he was first eligible to the Hall of Fame, was before he became the hitting coach of the Cardinals.
Right.
Up until the point of where Mark McGwire became the hitting coach, there was no actual evidence. I'm sorry, Jose Canseco's book is not evidence. He tried to extort money. If Mark McGwire paid Jose Canseco $10,000, he's not in the book, he's not at Congress, this never happens. It's like if Woody had gone to the police, it would never have happened. So Mark McGwire wouldn't stand up to extortion. He didn't pay Canseco. He got fingered in a book. He got invited to a congressional hearing on the current state of steroids in 2005. He retired in 2001. He never should have been there. If broadcasters were allowed to vote, he'd have been in the Hall of Fame before he became a hitting coach with the Cardinals. The difference is the owner, the DeWitt family, the owner of the Cardinals, said, you are not putting on a Cardinals uniform unless you come clean. So Mark McGwire copped to the whole thing. Now he has no chance of getting into the Hall of Fame. But Mark McGwire saved baseball. People talk about how the sport was in ruination after the '94 strike. Sure, in 1995, Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's record. The baseball fans came back. The public came back for McGwire and Sosa.
Absolutely.
I remember that. I mean, that was the first time after moving here and not being interested in baseball at all.
She means from Europe, not from California.
Not to, yeah, right. But baseball just didn't interest me. It was a slow-moving game. It was boring to me. And it wasn't until Mark McGwire came in that I was like, ooh, what's this? Now, obviously, my reasons are maybe a little bit different than, a man's reason. Because
you like big, tall, redheaded guys with bad complexions?
Thick necks.
There was just something about him.
He was Bill Bixby turning into Lou Ferrigno. That's what Mark McGwire.
But he had this great smile, and there was just something about his persona when he came up to bat that was just fantastic.
But it was the combination of Sosa and McGwire. I mean, that was a nightly soap opera. I mean, they would break into games and then go to the at-bats, and same thing with Bonds when he was chasing the record. So those are those standalone moments that become bigger than a baseball story. They become pop culture. They become something everybody has to see.
Okay, so I have a couple more questions because I still don't understand the whole system with this whole voting.
You'll never understand the system.
So there's 440 people that are voting.
Nobody does.
I know, but let's educate just a little bit more. So there's 440 people that voted this year.
Right.
How do people get put on the ballot to vote for?
You have to have played a certain number of games to get on the ballot. You have to have played a certain number of years. I think the minimum is 10 years.
But you just can't put anybody. There's a list of eligible players that
to
they
be
are
eligible.
Okay.
Once you're on the ballot, all 440, they still do a paper ballot. It's mailed to your house, and you are able to check up to 10 people. But there is no obligation to vote for anybody. One year, no one got elected into the Hall of Fame.
Right.
The Hall of Fame almost went bankrupt that year. And this idea that there's an obligation to fill out 10, this is what you were saying, both on the podcast but also off the air. It's insane to require somebody to fill the spots with 10.
Well, Jason Stark has a great column on ESPN.com. If you're a baseball fan, read it, because Jason Stark's one of the most respected baseball minds of all time. And he condemns the entire system with the 10 ballots because guys, as you mentioned, who were on the list for years, the guys leave them off, and then they go from being close to getting into the Hall of Fame to dropping way off and almost back out into oblivion.
And you're eligible to be on the ballot for 15 years, but you have to get 15% of the vote to stay on. So if you only get 8% of the vote, you're not on the next year.
Wow.
So it's very hard to get, and then if you get 75% of the vote, you're in.
Right. Okay, so I'm at home, I get one of these ballots, I have a certain number of people that are eligible.
There'll be 30 names on the list.
Okay, so 30 people, and then I have to choose, I'm allowed to choose up to 10 people off of that.
Correct.
And then they take the average, they mail it in, and then the 440 people that voted, whoever gets the most.
Becomes a percentage. So they'll tally everybody's votes, and it's out of 440. So if you have, for example, 437 out of 440, that's 99% of the vote. If you get 74% of the vote, you are not a Hall of Famer. You have to have 75%.
That is a ridiculous system.
Well, that's not the flaw. The flaw is there are people who don't watch games who are voting for this. There's a guy, I don't want to name a name, but...
Name a name on the damn show right now.
No, he's a nice person.
It doesn't make him a bad person.
There's a guy...
It makes him a loser.
There's a guy who
could
writes...
be a good person to
but
be a loser.
But he should give up his Hall of Fame voting because he doesn't watch the games.
Promotional articles for the league's official website. He's a very nice fellow. He doesn't watch the game. He doesn't study the game.
But he gets a vote.
I have problems because beat reporters travel with their respective teams. They really only see one league. You're not watching the games. When I have covered national stuff, when I've worked for national networks and covered all 30 teams, you see more of the sport. I'm sorry, it's not a penalty to watch it on TV. And I think that what happens is it's just a very old school mentality. It's unfortunate because guys like Jack Morris, guys like Tim Raines, Lee Smith, there is this cluster of 1970s and 80s players that are still hanging on this ballot that need to be gone, so then we can finally address the Clemens and the Bonds and that nonsense. I have said, until Jack Morris is in the Hall of Fame, I don't want to hear about Curt Schilling, and I don't want to hear about Mike Mussina, because Jack Morris was twice the pitcher that those two guys were.
No, I agree. And then you got Mike Piazza goes in, too. Interestingly enough, I mentioned Griffey was the very first overall draft pick to go into the Hall of Fame, which is hard to believe. But in the meantime, let's play this week's version of our favorite game.
Good evening, guys, and hello to the lovely Robin. Tonight's F, Marry, Kill is for the guys. Tonight's options are the lady who has surgically enhanced duck lips and was butchered by Botox, Meg Ryan, Kathy Griffin, but not current Kathy Griffin. We're talking days of pre-surgery Pulp Fiction Kathy Griffin. And lastly, the lady who appears like she's always sucking on a lemon, you're Renee Zellweger. Time's yours.
Wow. Three good choices now.
Always
now,
good
Robin
choice.
scoured the internet looking for photographs, and we have them. And Meg Ryan still looks good, but she had the lips overdone, right? So she was beautiful. She's still cute.
She looks like Nemo.
She actually looks better now than that photograph. The
So
last
this is
photo-
not the actual new because she's actually had them reduced now.
Oh, okay.
Now-
Somebody probably said to her, "Hey, Meg,
Yeah, they're a little out of
the
control.
lips are just a little bit
Right.
too big."
I think she had even more surgery to look normal because she really looks stretched thin and
Kathy
ducky.
Griffin actually looks good with the plastic surgery.
Yes. Now,
picture, she looks
the
all right.
only photograph that I could find of her from pre-surgery days was of her in high school, and it was a black and white picture, and it was too small. I couldn't.
Did you see the controversy about Don
Lemon, yeah, he was
with
hitting on her.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
She
yes.
took her shirt off on CNN.
Right.
She had just a bra on, and all you can see is Don Lemon looking
He
at
said
her.
a nice rack or something to her.
But he had a great line on Twitter. He said, "She takes her shirt off, and I got in trouble."
Yeah, but he's the one who said nice rack or something.
Well,
on
and
TV.
he was
drunk. He was in New
quite
Orleans,
inebriated.
and he was drunk. You know, and he's a serious news guy. He's not like a guy like us who could goof off.
Apparently.
Well,
Yeah. And then Renee Zellweger doesn't look that bad, does she?
It doesn't look like Renee Zellweger.
no, it was
No,
her
but
eyebrows.
everybody gets older. Who looks like
Her
they look
eyebrows are
when they're 20 years later? So we got to play the game. All right, Seth, I'm going to have you do it since it's a guy's thing. FMK, marry, kill. Who would you do? That order. You pick. You make the call, as we used to say in baseball.
Oh, this is
I
serious.
would. This is easy. F M.
Wait, no, say
No,
who
you
it
gotta
is.
say
This
the
is
names,
radio
man.
and TV.
It's video. It's
Yeah, but we
And
also
radio.
people are listening to it.
Kathy Griffin, easily the F.
Really?
Of these three,
Okay.
Love those redheads, man.
the M would be the person who used to be Renee Zellweger,
Uh-huh.
and Roger Rabbit would be killed.
I agree.
That's easy. Luigi, you agree with that selection?
Yeah, I agree with it.
See, Kathy
pretty-
Griffin,
yeah.
she looks good for her age, and she's had a lot of work done. I'm sure when you take all that stuff off, the makeup, the hair, and all the other accoutrements, she's going to be okay.
She
And what do you
has
think they're
a
gonna look like when they take the stuff
no,
off?
No, no, no,
But you
no.
can tell she's a Fachi Bhutan out of the three.
Kathy
thank you.
Griffin.
That's why she went right
Kathy
for it.
Griffin has one of the most amazing makeup artists ever. If you've seen her without makeup,
It's Andy Dick.
but she's funny. Like, I think she would be fun in bed.
Who, Kathy Griffin?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Robin, do you want to play this game?
This is supposed to be for the guys this
Sound
week.
really,
Robin. You
sounds
play
like
every
Just
week.
saying.
She does.
I'm going to agree with Seth, though. I do it in that order.
I
Yeah,
would.
me too.
I don't know what I would do.
Well, you got to do something.
What's up with her eyebrows?
Make a call. Make a call.
I'm not. No, I don't play this game. I'm just. the
Yes,
host.
you do.
yes, you do, Tony.
Will you make a call here?
Who, me?
Yeah, you-
It was the same order.
Are you going to the same
Absolutely,
way?
yeah.
Kathy
Fachi
Griffin.
Bhutan,
Is this a
Kathy
unanimous
Griffith.
decision?
And you're going to kill Meg Ryan?
Yeah,
Yes.
she was on my nerves before plastic surgery.
One of the greatest
looks
fake
like
orgasm
Jack-
scenes ever in movie
She
history.
looks like Jack Nicholson.
And the Joker.
Jack Nicholson when he put when he had the white face and he painted it.
Yeah, the Joker.
The
The
Joker.
joke? Well, you're a superhero guy.
Yeah,
You're
There's a bunch of people that say that drinking urine on a
Your own
monthly
urine, no.
yeah on a
Yeah.
monthly basis is supposed to be very
I mean,
good for
I'd
you.
probably drink my own urine, but not somebody else's. I mean, if you were in a desert and the only liquid you had was your own, and you were going to die,
No, I'll be
damn right.
Damn right.
You think I'm looking for a fake oasis out there?
There's a word for it too. What drinking? There's
a word
Crazy?
for it?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Exactly.
gross.
Do not.
No, here, like there's I remember reading this. I think I did an update on Into the Night. Why you should start drinking your own pee, and it's like this whole thing, urine therapy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, do you don't
You need to
remember?
be in therapy if you're just drinking your own pee, all right?
How many people would drink their own urine in here? Not one person?
Circumstances.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking
Yeah, what's
about
the
like you're out of
context?
beer and
Why
wanna,
don't you
know,
ask Twitter?
We should put that question on Twitter.
It's an ancient yoga tradition by
Yoga?
the Ayurvedic yogis for thousands of years.
Yeah. Crouching pissing dog. It's just called.
Crouching pissing dog.
Before we get out of here, I got to get some football news in here. I got all this research. See all this massive research?
Look at those notes you have, yeah.
So at this hour, of course, the big story on Wednesday, on January 6th, was Sean Payton took himself out of the hunt for teams that may want to hire him. They aren't going to fire him in New Orleans. Drew Brees wants him around, and he's going to stay there. And he says he's going to stay there as long as he needs to, and he's not going to coach anywhere else. So anybody who thought Sean Payton was going to go to the Eagles, the Giants, the Dolphins, Cleveland, or San Francisco, the job's open right now. He's not. He's staying in New Orleans. There were rumors that they wanted a second-round draft pick from New Orleans if you were going to take their coach away. That's not going to happen now. And the biggest name out there is Adam Gase, who's the offensive coordinator with the Bears. He's obviously worked with the Peyton Manning in Denver. He's worked with Brock Osweiler, who's the quarterback there. So he's a young guy who's a hot candidate right now. Pretty much every team wants to talk. The Eagles already talked to him. They're bringing him back again this weekend for a second interview. And you look at the list. I have the Giants. The Giants have him on their list. They have Ben McAdoo and Steve Spagnuolo, who are two of their assistant coaches, are going to get an interview. Doug Marrone is getting a lot of love, too.
Syracuse's own.
I know. You're a Syracuse guy. Yep. Remember, he took the Buffalo job and then quit the second year. He just walked away.
And they improved.
Well, he became a coordinator.
I mean, it was,
But, he left the head coaching job to go be a coordinator again.
And I didn't understand, and I have nothing against Doug Marrone. He didn't win anything in college.
I know.
I have problems. There are coaches that get hired for no reason. Like, there's nothing exciting about these guys. Adam Gase has been on running an offense that has gone to a Super Bowl, is a 5-time division winner. I could sell you Adam Gase. What has Doug Marrone done?
No, I agree. But he's on the list. The Dolphin job is a job that Mike Shanahan's name is on the list there. Mike Smith, the former Atlanta Falcon head coach, they're interested. That's the only job where I've seen they're interested in talking to him. Obviously, he was out of football for a year after the Atlanta situation. And then you got the Lions, who haven't made a decision yet on Jim Caldwell. And they're going to let the GM come in first, and then he's going to make the decision on whether Jim Caldwell will stay the coach. So he's in limbo. But San Francisco, the interesting thing about the Niners opening is 2 coaches have contacted them. And you know who the 2 coaches are?
Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan and Chip Kelly have both contacted the 49ers saying they're interested in that job.
Do you think the Niners have to have a coach in place because of the Super Bowl?
No, I don't think so. I think what will be interesting is that they wait till Super Bowl week.
To announce it?
Yes.
What about the Raiders? Does the Raiders relocation thing, is it any way impacted because the Bay Area has the Super Bowl?
I don't know. No, because they're supposed to make a decision next week in Houston when they meet.
I'm still of the belief that relocation is considered a negative for a city. The host city is going to lose a football team?
Yeah, but then Oakland's not considered, even though they're right across the bay. To me, what I think is going to happen, here's what my prediction is. I said I want Hugh Jackson to be the Eagles' next head coach because I think he got a raw deal in Oakland in 1 year. So he's not a retread.
Right.
The guy has a great offensive mind, coaching the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's a great young coach. Not young, he's 50, but he's a guy who's got great relationships with players. He's a guy that players love. He's a guy who knows offense. Same type of situation. I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers snap up Hugh Jackson, the former Raider coach, and make that announcement that he's the new head coach. Because I don't think they're going to go back to Mike Shanahan. I don't think they're going to hire Chip Kelly. And the Dolphins are going to settle for whoever takes that job, unfortunately. Cleveland and the Miami Dolphins are the 2 teams, in my opinion, of the teams that have openings that are just going to take whoever doesn't take another job. For example, do you think people say that the Eagles' job is a bad job? I totally disagree. Jeffrey Lurie is the most patient owner in sports. A lot of people don't like Howie Roseman being part of this triumvirate of people who are in charge. To me, you get the Eagles' coaching job, for the most part, you're going to get whatever you want to do, whatever you need. The organization's going to support you. Am I right? I mean, they've only had 2 coaches in the last 18 years. It's like the Giants, with Tom Coughlin. I mean, he was there how long?
12 years.
12 years, won 2 Super Bowls, and they weren't going to fire him. They let him go out on his own terms. You couldn't fire Tom Coughlin, even after this terrible season that they just had.
But I don't know where, I don't get that perception that the Eagles' job is a bad job.
Some people are suggesting that it's a bad job.
I haven't heard that. I look at Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia has a stigma about it, but I think that one of the things that you cannot deny is the way ownership supports the franchise.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could even make the argument for the Sixers. I mean, there's a certain level of frustration with the fate of Philadelphia sports teams, but support from ownership is not the one.
Totally agree.
Talk about the Lions. You're talking about some of the dregs of football. Not the Eagles.
I mean, look at the Cleveland Browns. Look at all the coaches they've had.
They got Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. I think he was the only successful coach they had, Jonah Hill. But, to me, it looks like the Eagles really like this Adam Gase guy. I remember when he played at Seton Hall. He was good. He was an Australian guy. I think he's the guy that groomed Brett Brown
1989, PJ Carlissimo.
That's right. Because when you hear
at the Meadowlands,
because you remember Andrew Gase, the Australian basketball player, played at Seton Hall. Then was in the NBA. It was with the Spurs in '99. Never played, but then won a championship ring because he was on their roster.
Deep cut.
And you know where he is now? He's like a hero in Melbourne, Australia. He's like the biggest thing in Australian basketball. We thought Brett Brown was a big deal in Australia.
Exactly, right.
Because Brett Brown
native son.
And Ben Simmons, the kid at LSU. So there's a lot of great basketball down in Australia.
Yep.
And Adam Gase is not from there.
And Brett's got that good Australian accent, too.
You know what else I read today? Adam Gase, his father-in-law, you know who he is?
I do.
Joe Vitt.
Yeah.
Joe Vitt grew up in New Jersey, in Blackwood, New Jersey, and he became a coach in the NFL. He got to be the interim coach of the Saints the year that the whole thing blew up with the Bounty Gate. So he was in charge for that one season in New Orleans. He was also an interim head coach with the Miami Dolphins for a year, and now he's a coordinator in. I believe he's still in where I wrote it down where he is right now. He's still with the same team. He's with the Saints. And so he's a linebacker coach with New Orleans, and his daughter married Adam Gase, who's the hot coordinator right now that a lot of teams want to hire.
Actually, according to Wiki, he's with the Chicago Bears.
Joe Vitt?
No, Adam Gase.
Yeah, Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator of the Bears.
Oh, sorry.
I'm saying Adam Gase's connection to the Philadelphia area is he married Joe Vitt's daughter. Joe Vitt's from Blackwood, New Jersey originally, and has been around the NFL. In fact, there was an interesting story about Joe Vitt around October. Did you see that story? He was in Dallas, I think, for a football game, and he saw somebody ransacking cars, and he went out there and chased the guy and fell down and broke his wrist and tore his Achilles tendon, running a guy down in the street in Dallas. And what happens? He didn't miss a game. The guy went back out there and continued coaching the rest of the season with a broken wrist and a torn Achilles tendon.
My favorite moment on Twitter in 2011, I was with the Phillies. I was doing their pre and post, and I was working in Philadelphia, and I joined Twitter. So a lot of my following originally was just Philadelphia. There is an assumption in Philadelphia that if you work for one of the teams, you have to like all of the teams. I do feel that way, except for the Flyers. I don't like. I moved to New Jersey the same day the Devils moved from Colorado. I am a New Jersey Devils fan. I had my little daughter, was about 6 months old. I was pushing her in a stroller in a mall. The Devils were playing the Flyers on a Saturday afternoon. After 2 periods, New Jersey was leading 5-0. All I tweeted was, every one of these goals feels great. I didn't say one negative thing. That's all I said. You're a traitor. You're not one of us. And to Philadelphia's credit, no one unfollowed. They trashed me for weeks. They didn't unfollow. To me, I love that. I love that passion, because what happens is I haven't covered the Phillies in 5 years, and I still have those followers. That to me is passion.
And to admit that you're a New Jersey Devil fan, especially when you got the Rangers and the Islanders, champion. And to be a Devil fan is something that you don't hear very many people say, because there aren't very many Devil fans, are there?
No, it's a unique club, and
it's where everybody knows your name.
When they won the cup, they had the championship parade in the parking lot.
I know. Well,
Somebody's backyard.
I would rather have it in the parking lot now than in the streets of Newark.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's probably why.
It would move pretty fast in Newark.
Well, Seth, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks
Seth Everett, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You can catch him on Twitter on the 2 Podcasts on iTunes.
Yep.
What are the names of the 2 podcasts again?
Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice. And if you follow me, @Seth_Everett, I tweet out the links all the time.
Beautiful. Seth Everett, thanks for coming by.
Thank you for
the
having
great Joe Corrado 19. Follow him, Jay Corrado 19 on Twitter. Up in the God mic, the man himself, Luigi Curto 22. The lovely and talented Natalie Eganoff. Follow her at Tutvid, Nathaniel in the dark back there. our great videographer, TUTVID. He's an amazing talent. Miss Robin Austin, don't forget at Blue Duck Philly, check out their menu, all the great food up there in the Northeast, providing us the great food tonight. And everybody else out there, don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. And even though they can't do it in Haddon Township, New Jersey, or in Haddonfield, God bless America. It's a beautiful country. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week on the podcast.